Part 2 of the 64 Square Madhouse by Fritz Leiber. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Part 2. "Cripes, Doc, they all sound like they were Russians," Sandra said after a bit. "Except this Willie Angler. Oh, he's the boy wonder, isn't he?" Doc nodded. "Not such a boy any longer, though. Well, speak of the devil's children, Miss Grayling. I have the honor of presenting to you the only Grandmaster ever to have been ex-chess champion of the United States while still technically a minor, Master William Augustus Angler." A tall, sharply dressed young man with a hatchet face pressed the old man back into his chair. "How are you, savvy old boy, he demanded. "Still chasing the girls, I see. Please, Willie, get off me." "Can't take it, huh?" Angler straightened up somewhat. "Hey, waiter, where's that chocolate malt? I don't want it next year. About that X, though, I was swindled, savvy. I was robbed." "Willie," Doc said with some asperity, "Miss Grayling is a journalist. She would like to have a statement from you as to how you will play against the machine." Angler grinned and shook his head sadly. "Poor old machine," he said. "I don't know why they take so much trouble polishing up that pile of tin just so that I can give it a hit in the head. I got a hatful of moves. It'll burn out all its tubes trying to answer, and if it gets too fresh, how about you and me giving its low-temperature section the hot foot, savvy? The money WBM's putting up is okay, though. The first prize will just fit the big hole in my bank account." "I know you haven't the time now, Master Angler," Sandra said rapidly, "but if after the playing session you could grant me—" "Sorry, babe," Angler broke in with a wave of dismissal. "I'm dated up for 2 months in advance. Waiter, I'm over here, not there." And he went charging off. Doc and Sandra looked at each other and smiled. "Chess masters aren't exactly humble people, are they?" she said. Doc's smile became tinged with sad understanding. "You must excuse them, though," he said. "They really get so little recognition or recompense. This tournament is an exception, and it takes a great deal of ego to play greatly." "I suppose so. So World Business Machines is responsible for this tournament?" "Correct. Their advertising department is interested in the prestige. They want to score a point over their great rival." "But if the machine plays badly, it will be a black eye for them," Sandra pointed out. "True," Doc agreed thoughtfully. "WBM must feel very sure. It's the prize money they've put up, of course. That's brought the world's greatest players here. Otherwise, half of them would be holding off in the best temperamental artist style. For chess players, the prize money is fabulous. $35,000, with $15,000 for first place, and all expenses paid for all players. There's never been anything like it. Soviet Russia is the only country that has ever supported and rewarded her best chess players at all adequately. I think the Russian players are here because UNESCO and FIDE, that's Fédération Internationale d'Échecs, the International Chess Organization, are also backing the tournament. And perhaps because the Kremlin is hungry for a little prestige now that its space program is sagging. But if a Russian doesn't take first place, it will be a black eye for them." Doc frowned. "True, in a sense. They must feel very sure. Here they are now." 4 men were crossing the center of the hall, which was clearing, toward the tables at the other end. Doubtless they just happened to be going 2 by 2 in close formation, but it gave Sandra the feeling of a phalanx. "The first 2 are Lismov and Vodbenik," Doc told her. "It isn't often that you see the current champion of the world, Vodbenik, and an ex-champion arm in arm. There are 2 other persons in the tournament who have held that honor, Jal and Vanderhoff, the director, way back." "Will whoever wins this tournament become champion?" "Oh, no. That's decided by 2-player matches, a very long business after elimination tournaments between leading contenders. This tournament is a round robin. Each player plays 1 game with every other player. That means 9 rounds. Anyway, there are an awful lot of Russians in the tournament, Sandra said, consulting her program. 4 out of 5 have USSR after them. And Belgrabo, Hungary, that's a satellite, and Sharifsky and Krakatoa are Russian-sounding names. The proportion of Soviet to American entries in the tournament represents pretty fairly the general difference in playing strength between the two countries, Doc said judiciously. Chess mastery moves from land to land with the years. Way back it was the Muslims and the Hindus and Persians, then Italy and Spain. A little over 100 years ago it was France and England, then Germany, Austria, and the New World. Now it's Russia, including, of course, the Russians who have run away from Russia. But don't think there aren't a lot of good Anglo-Saxon types who are masters of the first water. In fact, there are a lot of them here around us, though perhaps you don't think so. It's just that if you play a lot of chess, you get to looking Russian. Once it probably made you look Italian. Do you see that short, bald-headed man? You mean the one facing the machine and talking to Jandorf? Yes, now, that's one with a lot of human interest. Moses Sharifsky. Been champion of the United States many times. A very strict Orthodox Jew. Can't play chess on Fridays or on Saturdays before sundown. He chuckled. Why, there's even a story going around that one rabbi told Sharifsky it would be unlawful for him to play against the machine because it is technically a golem, the clay Frankenstein's monster of Hebrew legend. Sandra asked, what about Grabo and Krakatoa? Doc gave a short, scornful laugh. Krakatoa! Don't pay any attention to him. A senile has-been. It's a scandal he's been allowed to play in this tournament. He must have pulled all sorts of strings. Told them that his lifelong services to chess had won him the honor and that they had to have a member of the so-called Old Guard. Maybe he even got down on his knees and cried, and all the time his eyes on that expense money and the last place consolation prize. Yet dreaming schizophrenically of beating them all. Please, don't get me started on dirty old Krakatoa. Take it easy, Doc. He sounds like he would make an interesting article. Can you point him out to me? You can tell him by his long white beard with coffee stains. I don't see it anywhere, though perhaps he shaved it off for the occasion. It would be like that antique womanizer to develop senile delusions of youthfulness. And Grabo? Sandra pressed, suppressing a smile at the intensity of Doc's animosity. Doc's eyes grew thoughtful. About Bella Grabo. Why are 3 out of 4 Hungarians named Bella? I will tell you only this, that he is a very brilliant player, and that the machine is very lucky to have drawn him as its first opponent. He would not amplify his statement. Sandra studied the scoreboard again. This Simon Great, who's down as programming the machine, he's a famous physicist, I suppose? By no means. That was the trouble with some of the early chess-playing machines. They were programmed by scientists. No, Simon Great is a psychologist who at one time was a leading contender for the World's Chess Championship. I think WBM was surprisingly shrewd to pick him for the programming job. Let me tell you, no, better yet. Doc shot to his feet, stretched an arm on high, and called out sharply, Simon! A man some 4 tables away waved back, and a moment later came over. What is it, Savilli? He asked. There's hardly any time, you know. The newcomer was of middle height, compact of figure and feature, with graying hair cut short and combed sharply back. Doc spoke his piece for Sandra. Simon Great smiled thinly. Sorry, he said, but I am making no predictions, and we are giving out no advanced information on the programming of the machine. As you know, I have had to fight the Players' Committee tooth and nail on all sorts of points about that, and they have won most of them. I am not permitted to reprogram the machine at adjournments, only between games. I did insist on that, and get it. And if the machine breaks down during a game, its clock keeps running on it. My men are permitted to make repairs if they can work fast enough. That makes it very tough on you, Sandra put in. The machine isn't allowed any weaknesses." Great nodded soberly. "And now I must go. They've almost finished the countdown, as one of my technicians keeps on calling it. Very pleased to have met you, Miss Grayling. I'll check with our PR man on that interview. Be seeing you, Savvy." The tiers of seats were filled now, and the central space almost clear. Officials were shooing off a few knots of lingerers. Several of the grandmasters, including all 4 Russians, were seated at their tables. Press and company cameras were flashing. The 4 smaller wallboards lit up with the pieces in the opening position, white for white and red for black. Simon Great stepped over the red velvet cord and more flash bulbs went off. "You know, Doc," Sandra said, "I'm a dog to suggest this, but what if this whole thing were a big fake? What if Simon Great were really playing the machine's moves? There would surely be some way for his electricians to rig—" Doc laughed happily, and so loudly that some people at the adjoining tables frowned. "Miss Grayling, that is a wonderful idea. I will probably steal it for a short story. I still manage to write and place a few in England. No, I do not think that is at all likely. WBM would never risk such a fraud. Great is completely out of practice for actual tournament play, though not for chess thinking. The difference in style between a computer and a man would be evident to any expert. Great's own style is remembered and would be recognized, though, come to think of it, his style was often described as being machine-like." For a moment Doc's eyes became thoughtful. Then he smiled again. "But no, the idea is impossible. Vanderhoff, as tournament director, has played 2 or 3 games with the machine to assure himself that it operates legitimately and has grandmaster skill." "Did the machine beat him?" Sandra asked. Doc shrugged. "The scores weren't released. It was all very hush-hush. But about your idea, Miss Grayling, did you ever read about Mazel's famous chess-playing automaton of the 19th century? That one, too, was supposed to work by machinery, cogs and gears, not electricity. But actually it had a man hidden inside it. Your Edgar Poe exposed the fraud in a famous article. In my story, I think the chess robot will break down while it is being demonstrated to a millionaire purchaser, and the young inventor will have to win its game for it to cover up and swing the deal. Only the millionaire's daughter, who is really a better player than either of them— Yes, yes! Ambrose Bierce, too, wrote a story about a chess-playing robot of the clickety-clank grrr kind, who murdered his creator, crushing him like an iron grizzly bear when the man won a game from him. Tell me, Miss Grayling, do you find yourself imagining this machine putting out angry tendrils to strangle its opponents, or beaming rays of death and hypnotism at them? I can imagine—" While Doc chatted happily on about chess-playing robots and chess stories, Sandra found herself thinking about him. A writer of some sort, evidently, and a terrific chess buff. Perhaps he was an actual medical doctor. She'd read something about 2 or 3 coming over with the Russian squad, but Doc certainly didn't sound like a Soviet citizen. He was older than she'd first assumed. She could see now that she was listening to him less and looking at him more. Tired, too. Only his dark-circled eyes shone with unquenchable youth. A useful old guy, whoever he was. An hour ago, she'd been sure she was going to muff this assignment completely, and now she had it laid out cold. For the umpteenth time in her career, Sandra shied away from the guilty thought that she wasn't a writer at all, or even a reporter. She just used dime-a-dozen female attractiveness to rope a susceptible man, young, old, American, Russian, and pick his brain. She realized suddenly that the whole hall had become very quiet. Doc was the only person still talking, and people were again looking at them disapprovingly. All 5 wallboards were lit up, and the changed position of a few pieces showed that opening moves had been made on 4 of them, including the machines. The central space between the tiers of seats was completely clear now, except for one man hurrying across it in their direction with a rapid yet quiet, almost tiptoe walk that seemed to mark all the officials. Like mortician's assistants, she thought. He rapidly mounted the stairs and halted at the top to look around searchingly. His gaze lighted on their table, his eyebrows went up, and he made a beeline for Doc. Sandra wondered if she should warn him that he was about to be shushed. The official laid a hand on Doc's shoulder. "Sir," he said agitatedly, "do you realize they've started your clock, Dr. Krakatower?" Sandra became aware that Doc was grinning at her. "Yes, it's true enough, Miss Grayling," he said. "I trust you will pardon the deception, though it was hardly one even technically. Every word I told you about dirty old Krakatower is literally true, except the long white beard. He never wore a beard after he was 35. That part was an out-and-out lie. Yes, I will be along in a minute. Do not worry, the spectators will get their money's worth out of me. And WBM did not with its expense account buy my soul. That belongs to the young lady here." Doc rose, lifted her hand, and kissed it. "Thank you, mademoiselle, for a charming interlude. I hope it will be repeated. Incidentally, I should say that, besides, stop pulling at me, man. There can't be 5 minutes on my clock yet. That besides being dirty old Krakatower, Grand Master Emeritus, I am also the special correspondent of the London Times. It is always pleasant to chat with a colleague. Please do not hesitate to use in your articles any of the ideas I tossed out, if you find them worthy. I sent in my own dispatch 2 hours ago. Yes, I come. Au revoir, mademoiselle." He was at the bottom of the stairs when Sandra jumped up and hurried to the balustrade. "Hey, Doc," she called. He turned. "Good luck," she shouted and waved. He kissed his hand to her and went on. People glared at her then, and a horrified official came hurrying. Sandra made big, frightened eyes at him, but she couldn't quite hide her grin. End of Part 2.